Hey there, Autism Fitness founder Eric Chessen, leading the movement for movement and bringing you another edition of Autism Fitness Tuesday training, where I take a concept, a practice, a strategy, a programming aspect, something that we use in autism fitness programming, and explain it a little bit more, make it workable and usable for you, for your neurodivergent and autism life skill athletes, whether you're working in a school, a clinic, a gym, even at home, something that is important and relevant to getting our life skill athletes to move better, be stronger, be safer, and more capable in their daily activities. So, of course, before I get started, do the like and subscribe thing. I don't like saying that, but it's true. Definitely like and subscribe so that you never miss an edition of Tuesday training or when I try doing a YouTube live or any of the stuff that I do. Anyway, this topic is going to be how we measure and how we consider independent mastery for our athletes when we are talking about a specific exercise. Because if we are just varied and random in how we are going to apply the term mastery, that is going to be problematic, because then we can't generalize it to each individual and so on and so forth. So we have to be very careful in the way that we operationally define what independent mastery of the exercise is. And you can take this and use it with any skill, any task, but specific to the exercises that we use in autism fitness programming. We're talking about our squats, our presses, our push-ups, our band rows or cable rows, our carries, etc. All the strength exercises that we use in programming. So we're going to look at this from, of course, the pack profile perspective. The pack profile, of course, is I said of course twice, but whatever. The pack profile is our standard operating system in autism fitness programming. It gives us the ability to assess and address skills from a physical, adaptive, and cognitive perspective. Each one of those three is its own domain, and of course they interact with each other in fascinating and important ways. More about that in our Autism Fitness Pro certification. If you're interested, you can click the link in here and look to register for the program. Anyway, when we look at independent mastery of exercises through the lens of the pack profile, what we're considering is at what level of physical capability the athlete is able to perform that squat or that overhead press or that push-up or that cable row. Then from an adaptive perspective, we're looking at how focused and engaged and motivated the athlete is. And then finally, from a cognitive perspective, we're looking at their, of course, motor learning and their motor imitation, and then their understanding, conceptualizing, and ability to understand the expectation for performance of that particular exercise. And that gives us our three: the physical, the adaptive, and the cognitive of independent mastery. So let's consider the physical first. When we talk about physical functioning and independent mastery, it means that the exercise is being performed safely, technically sound, with full control through range of motion, meaning that the athlete is just not going as fast as possible, because with an overhead press or a push-up or any of these strength exercises, if they're just going fast and uncontrolled, it is definitely not going to have the same amount of beneficial impact as a controlled, sustained, full range of motion movement. This is an important concept and practice, not only in this conversation, but in understanding what good is in terms of the exercise. Because if we just say, well, the exercise is the exercise and they're doing it, then we're not doing our job as a coach or a programmer necessarily in providing the athlete with the structure that they need around that exercise. So from a physical perspective, the athlete needs to be doing the exercise with controlled performance through that full, healthy range of motion for X amount of sets and repetitions. So let's say with our most common protocol, 3 or 4 sets of 10 or 12 repetitions, somewhere around there, but that's a really good starting range. then that athlete is going to gain as much possible benefit from performing that strength exercise as possible, as opposed to if an athlete is just starting out and they're unfamiliar with the exercise and they have not developed the strength and stability and motor planning to perform it with that motor control. It's going to be a little bit jerky, a little bit all over the place. They may be going too fast, and that may be for physiological. It could also be for adaptive and cognitive reasons. We'll get to that. But physically, the exercise is going to have the greatest beneficial impact when it's being performed technically sound with control. And of course, with our autism and neurodivergent athletes, this can take a while. We can talk weeks, we can talk months, we can talk years, but this is what we're striving for in getting our athlete to that point. I've done other videos about variety and the often pointlessness of variety and the fact that it can actually be detrimental to progress, because we need our athletes to perform the same movement patterns over and over and over and over until they get to that point of independent mastery. Second, adaptive functioning, right? We want to engage the athlete in a way where they will be motivated and focused throughout that particular set. So if the athlete is doing, for example, 3 squats in a set that is intended to be 10 squats, and then they get distracted or they get dysregulated or they wander off, well, we don't have sufficient motivation in the moment. And of course, if we take data on this, we can see how it's going from set to set and from session to session. But if the athlete is wandering off consistently after 3 or 4 reps and not getting to reps 6 through 10, then the exercise again can't be considered mastered, because they are not doing sufficient volume or repetitions in that set for, again, the full benefit of that exercise. So in that case, our focus is going to shift towards the adaptive. How do we sustain that engagement and elevate motivation so the athlete is more apt to sustain their performance throughout that entire set? And this can get nuanced too, where the athlete will do repetitions 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, but they'll try to do them really quickly so that they can be finished with the set. And sometimes this gets down to the individual, but there are proven strategies regardless of what the dysregulation we're seeing is. So we want to sustain the motivation for our athletes so that they can perform similarly, if not exactly, from set 1, or rather repetition 1 to repetition 10 or 11 or 12 or whatever that final repetition is there. Right? Finally, we get a cognitive functioning. Now, cognitive functioning in the world of the PAC profile, of course, is all about communication and memory and being able to motor imitate. So how is the athlete interpreting information? How are they connecting that information to the movement itself and the performance of that exercise? And that's going to inform us as coaches on how to utilize our skill sets and the strategies that we have to make it the best possible situation for this athlete to thrive and succeed, and of course independently master that particular exercise and all the exercises that we have for them. From a cognitive perspective, if the athlete understands the expectation for performance, meaning they know that their bottom half needs to touch the box and then come up, and that is a full squat, not bouncing, but controlled movement and then up. And we have a couple different strategies for coaching the athlete through that full range of motion, whether it's the squat or whether it's a band row, whether it's an overhead press, whatever exercise. When the athlete is connecting how the exercise needs to be performed with the actual performance of that exercise, then the beauty is we get to step back. We can do less coaching because the athlete is beginning to understand and internalize how to perform this particular exercise. So it becomes increasingly clear that we need to address all 3 of those areas of ability, physical, adaptive, and cognitive, in order for the athlete to independently master the exercise. Now, if you have a highly motivated athlete, then you may need to spend less time and effort on the motivational and reinforcement side, because the athlete is being naturally reinforced by engaging in the exercise and having a great rapport with their coach and their trainer. Awesome. It's not that it disappears, it's just that it's less of a current consideration or priority. And maybe you have a highly motivated athlete who still needs a lot in terms of their physical modifications for the exercise in order to complete it to the best of their current ability. Oh, great. So now I can spend more of my time cueing and coaching because the athletes, their momentum, their engagement, their reinforcement is being sustained. So that athlete is already focused. They are already engaged. They already are an active and willing and motivated participant in this process. So our job now is to really hone in on, really focus on that physical aspect. From the cognitive standpoint, ensuring that the athlete has enough information at their level of reception and processing to perform the exercise as independently as possible is going to be really important. So the way we communicate things to that athlete, whether they are verbal, visual, otherwise, are going to be essential in their success, current and future. So when we account for the physical, the adaptive, and the cognitive, then it gives us a very real understanding of what the athlete's current capabilities are with a particular exercise. And as we gradually fade ourselves back within reason, then the athlete is going to begin to independently master that exercise. Again, this is a process that could take days, weeks, months, even years, but we want to stay with it. We want to be strategic. We want to monitor our data, even if that data is video over time, and reviewing it so that we know really where is this athlete and what is the next appropriate step in all three areas, physical, adaptive, and cognitive, so that they become more independent with this exercise, because the goal is for them to generalize those strength and movement skills to the outside world. So I hope that has been helpful in illuminating what we're trying to get at with independent mastery of exercise. I'd love to know what you think. Leave a comment below. And if there's a topic that you'd like me to cover in a future edition of Autism Fitness Tuesday Training, leave that in the comments below also. Would love to know what you think and how it influences your fitness and adapted PE programming. I'm Autism Fitness founder Eric Chessen, leading the movement for movement. I hope this has been helpful for you. Please, again, like, subscribe, share this with someone for whom it might make a difference. And if you're ready to become one of the elite Autism Fitness certified pros anywhere in the world, link is down there below. You can go on over to autismfitness.com, learn all about the pro certification, the expert certification, the master level, and of course our site certification for schools and organizations to bring out the best possible fitness and adapted PE programs for the autism and neurodivergent population. Thank you for watching.